Hey, everyone. How is it going? I just want to make sure. Oh, yes, you can all see my screen. Very nice. All right. Well, welcome, everyone. So today we are going over how to maximize your time at open houses. And joining me is a real estate agent here in Philadelphia and New Jersey area, Michele Iannella. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So I'm so excited to have you. Me and Michele connected a little while back. And we got talking about how she built her business. Now she leads a team, she trains new agents, and she really got started, and she still helps agents do this, maximize their time in open houses, which really, what does that mean? Get, prospective buyers into your pipeline, follow up strategically, and get them to become buyers and, eventually sellers in the future. So we'll get right into it today. So first, Michele, let's start off with pre-production. So very important part before, everyone just goes out there and starts throwing stuff and seeing if it sticks. Talk a little bit about how you prepare for these open houses.
Okay, I think that preparing is the biggest thing. If you go in on the fly, you're just hoping that someone comes in. So of course, looking at the market as a whole in the area that you want to host. So if you're choosing a house in Philadelphia 19145, you want to look at the market there, right? You want to know that house. You want to go through the house that you are going to do the open house for prior to choosing that open house. Take some photos, take some videos, do some marketing for it, prepare. I use Canva for that. And then basically scheduling it, whether it's your open house or someone else's listing, you want to make sure that you are kind of getting into that market. So once you do that, you go through, then what you'll do is pull a list of the neighbors. I like to do a 0.1 mile of the property. So I pull that in Cole Realty Resources, what I use, and I pull a list of names, phone numbers, emails, and I cold call them and just invite them to the open house. So that's my prep. I'm not a big door knocker, but if you are, that does the same thing.
What does that call sound like when you engage
It's
with an
just a, hey, how you doing? I have a house down the street that we're gonna have an open house for. I wanted to invite you 15 minutes before the open starts so you're not crowded with the buyers that are coming in. So it's more that way, more of a relationship bond with these people. Some people will tell you to, scram, but other people are willing to have that conversation because maybe they're thinking about selling their house. They want to see what their neighbor's house looks like. So yeah, I mean, every call is going to be different depending on who picks up the phone and how they act, but there is scripts. There's scripts. I use Mike Ferry. I use for open house scripts.
Very nice.
Yes.
And then, all right, so you prepare, so we know like where we're doing the open houses at. We're targeting the neighbors ahead of time, and then talk a little bit about the group showings.
Okay, so I break my open houses up into 2 days. So in 2 days, I do 4 open houses, 4 to 5, depending on what the time looks like. So I'll make the calls around the houses that I'm going to do. If I decide to do 2 in a day or 3 in a day, I'm making all of those phone calls. It's going to be on a Tuesday that I make the calls. And then on Friday that I follow up with the people who showed a little bit of interest. And I do that because if you're looking at 3 or 4 houses in a specific neighborhood, which most buyers are, they kind of have their price point and area locked in. So you want those people to see you in each of those open houses. So I don't do a 3-hour open house. I do a 1-hour open. And from there, I go from one to the other. I give myself, a little break. And I go right into the next one. So the people who saw me at the first open house are going to see me at the second. Then they're going to see me at the third. So I'm the agent in that area, even if they're not my listings. Most of the time, I don't have 3 or 4 on a block or in a specific neighborhood at a time. So, really going into the MLS, looking at what's there, looking at what you can do and how to kind of move forward and make yourself known there is what I do. And then that's normally on a Saturday. Sundays are a little bit busier. People like to do different things on Sundays. Saturdays are the easy day for open houses. And then Sunday, what I'll do is I'll take a house that I already sat the day before. And I'll sit it again just for an hour, but I'll schedule another house in the neighborhood that didn't have an open house. So same beds, baths, price range, sort of the same. And I'll book that as an agent preview. And what I do while these people are coming into my open house is I tell them the minute this open house is done, I'm going to 123 Main Street to show that, because it hasn't had an open house yet. And if you're only looking at open houses, this is the house that you haven't seen. So I'll take a group of people that come through my open and I'll take them to that house as a private showing.
I love it. Okay, so before we get too far into it, because I do want to stick still on the pre-production, but this is great because what I'm hearing is like you're setting yourself up for success on the day of the open house. So like you said, you're not just showing up and, you know, sitting there and hoping people come through the door. It's like you have all these little mechanisms in place to be able to engage with people differently depending on who comes through the door. So it's like a lot of doing your due diligence way ahead of time, really understanding the whole market and what your buyers, your potential buyers, are going to need when they get there.
Yes, like when I first started in this business, I just scheduled an open house and went. And when no one came, I was like, okay, no one came. Did it again, did it again, did it again. Finally, I was getting ready to quit. And I was like, what can I do to make people come here, right? My social media wasn't big. My following wasn't big. I didn't have, you know, a sphere as long as some of the agents that had people coming through. So I was like, what can I do differently? And I was sitting there for hours at a time. When I tell you I would do a 3-hour open house, I would do one house 3 hours. I'd sit there and I'm like, can I leave? You know, and then as soon as you leave, someone comes. It's just the way that it works. So I sat there for 3 hours and I was like, well, what are we gonna do? So I just figured a way around that.
Very nice, very nice. So it all comes with like going through the pain of it for a little while, and then you kind of discover your what works. So
Yes.
It's awesome to share with other people. What about now? You know, everyone's on social media, even if they don't have maybe the biggest following. What are some ways they can promote it or should promote it out there before ahead of time?
So I like the paid Facebook ads. TikTok has them too. So while you're scheduling your open houses and going through to look at it to make sure that it's something that's worth sitting, make videos. I mean, TikTok is a huge platform right now in real estate. Every time I scroll, there's a house, there's a house, there's a house. So anybody who's looking, I mean, it's an algorithm, right? So anybody who's looking, it's going to pop up on their TikTok. So if you are posting those houses, which I recommend doing, just put it in there. I'll be there Saturday, 12 o'clock, right? Add it in that this is something that you're doing. Worst case scenario, people don't come. Best case scenario, you get flooded, you know, things they go viral, right? So that's what I would do, social media wise. And then the day of, also you record the street, you do your live on your socials if that's something that you're comfortable doing.
Okay, very nice, very nice. I like this. All right, now during the open house, so how are you? So now we got to the day of, it's here, we did all our pre-production, everything is set and ready to go. How are you? What are you bringing? How are you setting the scene to, you know, make it a good experience for the people that do come through?
Okay, so the most important thing is you want to make sure that people have your information. So you're either going to bring your dot card or your business cards, things like that. I definitely bring an MLS sheet and I attach it to a flyer that I create in Canva pretty quick. Bang, you know, templates are there. So it's, you know, a couple pictures, a little description, basic information on the house, and I staple that with my business card to the front. So I make a little packet. And I also bring an iPad. Love the iPad because that's how you have your sign-in sheets and your other things. So we'll get into that, I think, a little bit later. A speaker, either a candle or sets of plugins. You'll know when you go through the house, you know, earlier in the week what you need for yourself. If it's not staged, you're going to want to bring a chair because you may have some downtime and you don't want to be sitting on the steps when someone comes into the house. If it's nice outside, a lawn chair, something where you could sit outside. But yeah, I think, you know, something to capture the client's information and something to give them as they're walking out is important.
Awesome. Okay, now when people get there and we start talking to them, you have a couple like personas here, so you can kind of tell like who's who, and how do you engage with them differently depending.
So I'm very much on being authentic, so I just introduce myself. You know, I ask them a few questions, right? Like, how'd you hear about us? You know, did you just walk by and see the sign, and kind of get a feel for what they're doing, right? Like, if someone walks into the house and they're like, oh, we're a neighbor, we got your call or voicemail, whatever, that's a different conversation that you're gonna have than someone who just walked in off the street, right? People who just walk in off the street, sometimes they're just curious. So you want to give them a little bit of free time and kind of collect their information at the end and do things a little bit differently. When you have a neighbor, that is your opportunity to get a listing 100% of the time. If you don't go for it, then that's the downfall that you're having in your open house strategies, because when one person lists a house in a neighborhood, 2 more follow. That is a rule of thumb. They see a number, they're like, I've been thinking about it, let me pull the trigger, and they just don't know where to start. They may have owned their house for a really long time and don't remember who their realtor was. People aren't following up with them today. So, you know, I always like those conversations a little bit better than the just walk-ins. And then you have your serious home buyers, and those you'll be able to tell when they're like, yeah, I saw you on Zillow, I was looking and I found it, you know, blah, blah, blah. So if that's how they found it, then that conversation is going to go a totally different route. That conversation is going to be like, do you have an agent? And what most agents do in open houses, when the person says, yeah, I have an agent, they don't ask automatically who that agent is. Because if they stutter, if they stumble a little bit, they're lying. It's just the way it works. They don't want to be, you know, called, text, email, whatever it is. So this is where you need to really put your personality in the front. Like, you need to go all out for these people. So it doesn't matter who else is coming in, what else is happening. You want to make sure that these people are covered, even if they say they have an agent, right? Because their agent, even if they really do, you don't know who that agent is, and you don't know if that agent is doing a good job. So if you stand out just a little bit, then once that agent falls through, they're going to remember you. You're going to send them emails. You're going to do the things that you need to do afterwards to really capture that person. So that's kind of the personas that come through. You know, you have your randoms, your neighbors, your nosy neighbors, and then you have your serious home buyers.
I've heard it many times. People, you know, they meet a buyer and then a month or 2 later, they meet the same buyer again who no longer wants to work with the agent they're working with, or that agent isn't, you know, communicating with them, isn't following up. So it's never, don't ever take it as like a hard and fast, like, no, I'm never going to work with them. Always, you know, kind of keep it open, and you never know what's going to happen.
100%. I mean, in my career, in my sales career, I've probably converted 20-ish people who had agents at one point that their agent just stopped following up, stopped wanting to show them houses because they needed to see a billion of them. And it really takes the right personality and the right person to work with a specific person, right? You're not going to want to work with everybody. So everybody's not going to want to work with you. The way that it works is you have to be patient with these people. You know, it's a long game. It's a football field. It's a football field, and you have to just keep getting to the point where you can get them into the end zone. And that's the analogy that I always use for that.
Like that.
Little steps.
Good time. Football season. I love it. Awesome. How do you go about like getting some personal information without it being kind of like uncomfortable, but just so that you can make more of a warm follow-up after?
Yeah. So you always, like, when someone comes in, you introduce yourself. I keep all of my sign-in information in the kitchen. So I know that we have people from around the country, so every house is going to be different. But in my market, you walk in, you have your living room, your stairs, and then you walk into the kitchen. It's just all the houses are the same. So I keep everything in the kitchen. It gives them the living room space to kind of look around as you're speaking. And then once I get into the kitchen, I offer them my stuff. Sometimes they take it, sometimes they don't. And if they don't take it, I'm not going to be pushy about it. I ask those questions. Do you have an agent? Things like that. But I do it in a way that is on my computer. So I say, now I mean, more recently now, we use COVID, right? We need to know who is in and out of the house. We need to know if someone was to get sick, how we can connect everybody and things like that. So that's the excuse that I use now. Before it was, I can't let you see the house without getting your information because someone owns it, right? We need to legally have all of your information. And most people don't give you an issue. They just, before it was sheets of paper, they would just sign in, they would throw whatever. But now I fill it out. So I'm just having a conversation and typing on my iPad, everything that I need to know. Basically.
Okay, very, very good. Something that we've been trying out this summer, which we found a lot of success with, is raffling off a $200 Amazon gift card.
Okay.
And I talked to an agent recently who said, yeah, I've done that before. Like, it works really well, just having a raffle. It could be something so small, it could be whatever, but instead of saying sign in because of these reasons, we say, hey, you want to enter this raffle? And I find that they write their handwriting really neat. You can read it. It's their correct information because they think, they're going to be followed. We're going to follow up with them to see if they won the raffle or not.
100%. Something else that I would do is I would tell them that they have to add my social to be entered into that. So you always want to build your following, right? Now these people are following you. They're going to see all the open houses that you're doing. They're going to see all of that. If you're giving, and $200 a week is a lot for some people, right? So it could be anything, it could be anything, but the raffle thing is good if you want to build a connection and have them actually care.
Yeah. And the social is very good too. Like, at that point, they're gonna be like, yeah, sure. Like, I'll follow you. I mean, most people don't care too much about who they follow and who follows them back. And that, I find that that's always a really good way to know more about the person without, them telling you so much. Like, yeah, like they're gonna see that if they have kids or if they have pets or what kind of sports they like to do if you get them on social.
Yeah, and if you're doing the right thing with your social media and you're posting every day and you're putting up your wins and the houses that you're selling and the houses that you're showing and things like that, they're going to see that. It's going to come up on their feed, right? Now they're following you. You're going to be the face on their Instagram, on their Facebook, on whatever it is that they're doing. So,
yeah,
our job is to stay in front of people. That's the best way to do it right now.
That's right. And it's free. I love it. So, okay, this goes into our follow-up strategies now. So you did your prep work, you had great conversations, connections, got all the information from people. Now, what's the next step? First of all, how are you managing this data? So, like, you had it in the iPad, is it going somewhere? Are you manually entering it? Like, how are you organizing it first and foremost?
Yeah, so when I put everything into the iPad, I'm not putting it in an Excel sheet. I use Open Home Pro. It's completely free. Love Open Home Pro, been using it for years. So basically you can tweak the questions that you put in there, take a nice little picture of the house while you're in there so it looks presentable when someone's getting ready to sign in. I would definitely download it, and I would definitely bring an iPad. If you don't have one, buy one. Like that's where I'm at in this part of my business. Like, you need to have it there. But that every time you submit a contact in there, it'll automatically go into your CRM, whatever CRM system you're using, as long as you connect it. And it'll go in as whatever you label the actual app. So on the app, you put 123 Main Street open house with the date, and that's how it'll label it as it's going into your CRM. So I use that, so then I can just go in and I can type in to the notes, 123 Main Street, 65, whatever, and I pull that list of people. You can go as far, depends on your CRM system that you're using, to put them on an automatic drip campaign. So as soon as they are entered into that system, an email will go out to them with the property information. You would set that up, of course, beforehand, and I can, send all details on that depending on your CRM. But that's how I do it. So it's instant, it's automated. So the first day I have to do absolutely nothing except for sign them in.
That's awesome. So good. You got all the information is organized. It's ready to go. And then once you go back, and then I like that you have the address. You can, when you do text or call them, you're saying, hey, remember we met at South Street, whatever it was, you know, the specific house. They're like, oh yeah, yeah, I remember you. So then do you have like a cadence that you do with everybody? Is it phone call first, then text and email, or does it depend?
No, so it'll depend. I always ask. It's respectful to ask them how they prefer to be contacted. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'm in the middle of a meeting and someone just calls my phone and I'm not prepared for that, right? Like I don't have 15 minutes to talk to you. So my preferred communication is email. It's not everybody's, right? So it's really going to depend. So while you're walking them through the house, while you're doing things with them there, you're going to have that conversation. Say, listen, I don't want to send you unnecessary things. So what is the best way for me to get in contact with you if I need to? And they'll tell you. They'll tell you, you know, don't call me. I don't want a phone call. People are not afraid in this day and age. They will tell you. So
Yeah.
I like to ask, you know, because I would want to be asked. And then if they're like, email is best, and I send them an email through my CRM, I can see if they opened it. Now, if they're not responding, then you get onto your phone call text game and like, listen, I know you really wanted an email, but I sent it to you and I didn't get a response. Is everything okay? Something like that.
Right, right. So you're still following what they wanted, and you're using that as a reason, another touch point to say like, hey, did you get my email? You know, let me know if you have any questions.
Yes, yes. Yep.
Very good. Now, I don't think we touched on this, but at what point do you kind of, well, we maybe with the personas, at what point do you sort of know like their timeline? If this is so as you're following up, like someone that's kind of hot, like, all right, they're looking now or in like the next 3 months, versus how you follow up with someone that's like just starting, maybe they're a year out.
So, all right, what I'll do is I'll go through with you real quick how I set up my beginning stage. So they walk in, I introduce myself, take them through the living room, get to the kitchen, sign them in. I have that conversation with them. I only do the main level showings. I will not follow them upstairs. I let them do it on their own. And I do that because people will talk to each other with each other only. Like they're not going to talk about the house to each other in front of me. It's just something that they don't do. So before I send them up, I'm like, at the end, when you're done, let's have a little conversation and go over the things that you like. At least give me feedback of the house so I can give it to the seller. Maybe we need to tweak something. I let them go. They do their thing. They come down. I asked how they liked it. I asked how long they've been looking, where they live now. I even get into what neighborhoods are you in right now, right? So I just collect all that because now they're already talking to me. They're in the kitchen, they're sitting, they're relaxed, they either have a water or whatever it is that I bring with me. And now they're calm, right? Now it's just a conversation. It's not, I need you to fill this out or I need you to do this. It's, what did you really like about the house? What did you not like about the house? From the other houses that you've seen, and that's how I'll word it. From the other houses that you've seen, how does this compare? Oh, I haven't seen this. I haven't seen any houses, or oh, you know, we saw a couple the other day, and you just gauge a conversation that way. If they haven't seen any, that's when you go. Are you only looking at open houses? Are you, you know, working with someone more specifically? You know, things like that. And then you kind of get to the nitty gritty. You can never go too deep, right? If they answer a question, there's always another question to that question until you know the conversation is done, they're tired, they're ready to go to the next one. And hopefully if you listen to me, you're at the next one. So you can dig a little bit deeper when you're doing that.
Awesome, I love it. So then how do you notate? All right, you just had a great conversation with someone, you got all that information. As they leave, will you kind of like write your own notes, like their name and where their timeline kind of lies?
Yeah, so I have my CRM app on my phone, so I'll open their contact card at that point and type it into the notes section. If you don't have that, some people don't have that. Individual agents who are with, you know, any company, they may not use the CRM system. Some people just don't like it. Put it in your notes app. I would, before your open house, open your notes app. You can even go back into the Open Home Pro, click their contact and type it in there. I mean, it's go back into that contact card. So awesome. There's a lot of ways to do it, but the notes app works. I use my notes app every day. Sometimes I hear things and I'm just like, typing it in, something that I want to remember later, so it's, you can definitely do that.
Nice. So yeah, like all the stuff you're saying right here, right now, I'm like, put it in the notes app.
Write it down. It's good stuff.
So that's perfect. Okay. So now when you're following up, you're going back to those notes and you're like, hey, these people that have not been looking at any homes yet, they're pretty fresh. Like, then you know what kind of conversation to have with them based on your
Right.
notes.
And it's not impossible to sell an open house. I mean, you can go into an open house right now and sell that house to someone who walks in. I mean, it's not an impossible thing. And I know it seems like it, right? How often does a person buy the house that they're walking through and meeting you at? Very rarely. But if you set it up right and they do like it and you're having the right conversations, it's definitely possible to convert them on that house.
And if not, even if you don't, like you did all the pre-work, the pre-production to set up like other ways to capture them, whether it's like those private group showings or the next open house in the area.
Yeah. And a few things, just to go back, a few things that I do when when a client says that they don't have a realtor, I ask them, why, why don't you have an agent? It's free. You are getting my brain and my knowledge and my experience completely for free. So why are you not hiring someone? Do you not know anybody who's an agent? Oh, we know blah, 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 blah. Okay, I know blah, blah, blah too, right? So why didn't you interview with her? Let them respond and then say, how many other open houses are you going to today? This is one thing I do in every single open house and it never fails me. How many other open houses are you going to over the weekend? 3. That gives you 3 other opportunities to interview realtors. You don't have to choose me, right? I may not be the right fit for you, but I bet you when you go through those open houses, they're going to just try to convert you without asking you who else you interviewed with. Because just because it's free doesn't mean you should just go with the first person that you meet. And make it about you. Make it about how great you are and how great the market is or how great this is, but you have to do something that's going to stand out because there are at any given moment 50 open houses at a time and they could be in 10 of them and they can only see you once. And you want to do something to make yourself stand out above all of the other people. Don't sell them. You're not selling them, you're selling yourself. Is really.
Yes. And really what you said too is like you're guiding them. I think we underestimate sometimes, or we like overestimate how much knowledge buyers actually really have about the process. Like just knowing the fact that it's free to use a real estate agent, they don't pay the commission, or knowing that they should be, interviewing someone. Like most buyers are not going to know that. So don't assume that they have all this knowledge. You're really just providing that information and guiding them. But then also at the same time saying, well, this is why I'm giving you all this information and this is why you should work with me.
Mhm.
So
right. At that point, they're going to start thinking, what do I need to ask these people to make sure that I'm choosing the right person? Because I gave you a nugget, right? Like I gave you an inch to say, okay, maybe I'm doing it wrong. Because you don't want them to say, oh, I'm just going to use whatever listing agent is there. Because most of the time, the person who's sitting in the open house is not the listing agent. And you tell them that, right? Like I may not be the listing agent for this property, but I am a buyer specialist right here, right? Like I help buyers. I'm not, I don't have 9 listings in 19145, but I have closed 30 buyers in 19145. And I've done that because you never work with a listing agent. You pivot.
Right.
It's a pivot.
Right, exactly. And so just like being that source of knowledge for them and like being a place where they feel like, okay, like I feel relaxed and safe and I can ask questions. Like I'm going to go back to Michelle and ask her, what I should be doing. And by that point, I already feel so comfortable with her that I'm just going to work with her.
Yeah. The first time I ever did that, and it wasn't something that I heard, it wasn't something that I saw anywhere. I just met a couple in a house, and in my brain of brains, it was like, ask them the question, right? Like it went off. Before I left that open house, I got an email from the wife hiring me to be their agent. And from then on, I just did it. I was like, it worked. I did it. I sold them 3 houses since then. So
Oh,
you
love
build
it.
with those people just by, changing a few words. That's all it really is.
Yes. Yes. And going in there with confidence and preparedness, I think, is the 2 big things that you really hit on, you really touched on.
Yeah.
All right, we have some questions. Someone's asking, do you have buyers sign in to capture? We did talk about, yes, the sign-ins, but specifically, what do you ask them? Name, phone, and email?
Yeah, I asked them name, phone, email. I asked them if they're working with a realtor. I also asked them if they're pre-approved, who their mortgage lender is, who their realtor is. That's all I capture, right? So that's my big capture. Going into the rest of the questions will be dependent on what they say.
Okay. And so you have the iPad set and you're prompting them and then you're typing their responses.
Yeah. Most of the time people connect with you when they have a conversation. So if they're just typing it in, I'm not going to see as they're typing it in. So if they're saying, yes, I have an agent, they're just going to click a button and say yes. I don't have the opportunity to ask them who that agent is. So I can't really feel out what they're doing, if they're really working with someone or if they're lying.
That's so right. And then they could also write Joe Schmo in there. Yeah, I have an agent, this,
Right?
John Smith. Just make it up.
Yeah.
I like that. It kills 2 birds with 1 stone. You're getting the information you need, and you're also building that relationship because you're having a conversation with them.
Right. I can't tell you how many times I asked who their agent is, and they were like, oh, I can't remember their name. I'm like, then you shouldn't be working with that agent. And I'll tell them just like that. I will look them right in their face and I will not be working. If you can't remember their name, then they're not doing something that needs to be done. And I'm not
Yeah,
saying
exactly.
their client at that point, I'll say, okay, did you sign a buyer agency contract? Like that'll be my first, have you signed a buyer agency contract? And if they say no, then say, then you don't have a realtor because anything you told them isn't confidential.
Right.
I mean, then you don't have.
Yeah, you don't, and you can't even remember their name. Like I want the people to be saying like, yeah, I got my girl Michelle. Like Michelle's like, it's my friend, my confidant. Like in this process, if they're not at that point, then
right.
doesn't
And if they say
matter.
why, I mean, a good rebuttal for that, if they're like, why do you want to know? You say, I do a lot of business here, so I want to know if it's someone that I know who does a lot of business in this area, so I can give you a heads up, right? Are they
That's right. That's right.
working? Are they working
That
here?
too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, who's oh, I know them, or oh, I know someone on their team, we've worked together, great. And it's like, it gives them confidence that it's a good person, a well-known person. So that's always good.
Right, because even if you're not going to work with them, you're not going to work with them today. You don't have to work with them at all, but you're still collecting their information. You can still ask them for business from other people. So you're
That's
not
right.
you're going to ask them, say, listen, I hope that you enjoyed your experience and I know that you're working with this person and I really hope it works out. And if it doesn't, you're always welcome to give me a call, but I'm available for your referrals, even if it's not in Philadelphia, even if it's in New Jersey, even if it's in Florida. I have agents out there who can help you, just kind of adding that in because referrals are key. I mean, you can make a ton of money in referrals.
That's right. Just, yeah, expanding your network and always just being there as a resource for these people that come through, no matter what kind of questions they have or what they're talking about. You're just there as a resource and to make that connection strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. Awesome. All right. Well, any last things that you want to add?
I'm good. If they have any questions, happy to jump in and kind of go over it. But if they got it,
Yes. Yeah. For people that
yeah,
are in our area, what's the best way to connect with you?
You could call me. I'm good on the phone. If I don't answer, you can always shoot me a text. But if you want to put my phone number in the chat, you can do that. And we can just do it that way.
We'll have it all in the email follow-up because we have the recording of this.
Yes, and I have scripts and stuff, so I can send those over as well.
Yes, we'll definitely include some of that stuff that you use for the sign-ins that goes right to the CRM, the scripts, and the finding the radius of the neighbors.
Yes, and the system that you use. I mean, I love Cole Realty. I've been using it since I was an admin at Coldwell Banker, like 10 years. Yeah, it's great. It's cheap, it's easy. You throw it in a dialer and you just call away. It's good
I love it. Okay, before we end, we have one more question.
Mhm.
How do you feel about loan officers visiting open houses to network with an agent? How can the loan officer help in this situation? So kind of twofold. How do you feel about them just popping in?
They're people, right? So it doesn't bother me. I don't think that they're poaching people, and if they are, they have every right. We're sitting in open house, right? It may not be our open house. For a loan officer to come in to try to get business, I think that that's good. That shows that that loan officer is working every day. We love that, right? You don't want a loan officer who's not going to put in time and energy into their business, especially if they're new, right? You have to have that kindness in your heart to understand that people are starting, right? They're building their business, they're building their career. So I'm okay with loan officers popping in. Love to network, right? I'll network with buyers and sellers, investors, loan officers, title people. They're a big part of your business. They will always be a big part of your business. 90% of people get mortgages. So, you
Right.
know, and every loan officer, every company offers different programs, right? You're not going to have one person for everything, right? Some people can't do commercial. What if you need one, right? Then you can at least go into your CRM. I'll have them sign in. You know, you
Oh,
want to
good.
build that relationship, you want to build that rapport. You have to do it with everybody, not just buyers.
Okay, I love it. Awesome. And how do you think a loan officer can best help you in the situation of hosting an open house? Is it just co-hosting with you? Is there any like materials that you think have been useful or
Um,
helpful?
So if I have a loan officer before, like not someone that just walks in, if I know that I'm going to host with somebody, they can help with like the marketing, right? I know a lot of mortgage companies have a marketing department that'll take a lot off. They can help even with the calling. If they're newer, they can take half the list, like they can do that. If you are going to do a giveaway, they can split the cost with you. Like there's a lot of ways that loan officers help in business in general, take open houses away, right? Like I feel like loan officers and realtors are partners when it comes to things, when it comes to business, especially buyers. There's some things that I don't want to talk to buyers about. I don't want to talk to them about money. That's not my business. I don't want to know how much you really make. That's not my business. That's their job. You have to let them do their job so you can focus on doing yours. Because if you're focused on doing theirs, then you have less time for your next 3 or 4 buyers. So trust your loan officer. It's a big
Very
thing.
true. Very true.
Yep.
I love it. All right. A lot of questions came through here at the end. If you only have the bandwidth to focus on improving one thing, what would be the most foundational core practice you would encourage agents to do for every open house?
If I would only focus on one thing that I spoke about, basically,
Yeah, like for them to improve.
it would be the prep. Most agents go in blinded. I did, every agent really does, even with my home buyers, before I take them through a house. And it's a little bit different for me now because I don't have too many of them at one time, more sellers than buyers. But when I do have specific home buyers, when I send them a list of properties and they send me a list back that they want to see, I preview those houses. If you're pre-qualifying them the right way, you know what they're looking for. So you want to be able to go into a house, look at the house and say, okay, these 10 things need to be done. If there's more than that, if it's anything big, you don't want to sit that open house. You don't want to waste the hour of your day that you could have put it somewhere else. So I think that out of everything that I said would be the biggest thing. Who wants to sit in an open house? Who's going to come to? It's overpriced by $50,000. You don't want to sit there. No one's going to come.
And it's such a waste of your time. It gets you negative, maybe you get discouraged to even continue doing them even more, because I hear a lot of people talk negative, and it's like I think they have more control than they think over how their experience. They could be doing better prep work, having a more positive experience, and feeling better about continuing on with the strategy.
I talked to an agent today, a really great agent. I was just on the other end of a deal with, fantastic guy. I told him I was having this and I wanted to send him the link, and he was like, I don't do open houses. And I asked him why. He was like, because when I started, I did 8 or 9, no one came, and the people who did come had realtors, so I stopped. And I was like, well, come watch my clips. Come watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when I started, my first 10 deals came from open houses. My first 10 deals came from open.
Wow. That's a lot. And if you think they over time refer you 2 to 3 more clients, like that's crazy.
Yeah,
Exponential
that's
growth.
how I built my entire sphere. I mean, most of it. I mean, if the market took a dump, which, could happen, there's still people who need to buy houses, right? There's still people that need to buy houses. So that would be the one thing that I did. I would go back to my roots and I would say, okay, I don't have any listings, but this person has a listing and this listing is perfect. How do I get business?
Yeah.
Knock on the doors, call the people, invite them there. Now you have something to offer these people instead of just calling and saying, hey, do you want to see a house? Like
Yeah.
cold calling people. I would just do the open houses. Door
Back
knock.
to the basics. Always back to the basics.
Yep.
Okay, last question, then we'll wrap. How do you go about with take the buyers from one open house to the other while still running the original open house? So like, what's the schedule timing look like?
Okay, so Saturday, I don't take a group. Saturday, I just host 3. So Saturday, 11 to 12, 12:30 to 1:30, 2 to 3 is how I schedule those times. It gives me a little bit of time in between each open house to prep for the next one, get there, things like that. So on a Saturday, I just host 3 1-hour open houses. On a Sunday, I pick one of those 3 and I only schedule it for an hour. And when the people walk into that open house, I tell them when the open house is done. The open house is only an hour. You think people are in there maybe 15 minutes. No one gets there exactly on time. Hang around. That is where I bring my food. Like, I think we had something about like Super Bowl Sunday. So if you're in a house with a TV, you're going to put something on the television. You're going to have things there to make them want to stay. So they're staying, they're hanging out, and then you're going to be able to take them, maybe not to just one house. You could schedule 2 or 3. It depends on what's available in that market. So if there are 3 identical houses, different finishes, price points within $10,000 to $15,000 of each other, beds, baths the same, schedule them. Because the best thing that can happen is you walk those people from this house to that house and they buy one. Or all 3 of them want to buy one, and then you have 3 buyers that are in a bidding war, and then you're skyrocketing. I mean, the sky's the limit at that point, but you wait until the open house is finished. If you feel like the open house is going to be super busy, partner up with another agent. I mean, what do you have to do? Split them? It's worth it because now at least you're closing some deals. One person can go and open the door for the other house. Most of these houses are go and show anyway. So if a buyer's like, oh, I don't have an hour, I can't wait, you can take them through because you have someone there.
Oh, I love that. Tag team it.
Tag team it. I mean, you should definitely have a partner in this business, whether it is someone on the team that you're on that you really enjoy working with, or someone that is, starting out that you can help mentor, right? Like, you should always have a partner. It's a partner business. We're a cooperating business. I mean, it's just that's the way that I've done it. It's always better. It's
Abundant
fun.
mindset too.
Yeah. It gives you someone to keep you motivated. It keeps you, on track. If you're running behind, they're going to be there, right? Someone should have your flank at all times.
Yes. Awesome. Great stuff. Thank you, Michele. This was really awesome. So many good tips and tricks and systems that we can implement and strategies. And even if you are an agent, listening to this, that you're like, oh, I haven't done open houses in so long. Remember, whenever business is a little down or you're struggling, back to the basics, just like Michele said.
Email if you have any questions, call. Either one's
Yes.
good.
Find you, Google you, find you on social media.
Yeah. We'll send you an email after with my contact.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. Everyone have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Have a good rest of your week.
Bye. Thank you.